And we are live, you sexy people. What is going on? Welcome to the Foody for Thought podcast, episode 6. I am your gracious host of the evening, Kung Foody, otherwise known as James in the Streets. We have some and fitness today, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. Just before we do that, I've been playing a lot with the sound, as you know, so I might need a new cable. That might be my problem, but I just played with a couple of settings on the computer, so we're going to see. Hopefully that doesn't get too mixed up. But thank you very much for joining me today, taking the time out of your day to spend some time with me. That itself means the world to me, so thank you so very much for that. Now, while we are talking about fitness and health, I got a couple of notes that we're going to be driving the conversation off of. But before we get into everything, let me tell you who this podcast isn't for. If you're joining us, no matter who you are, as much as I appreciate it, and you might be able to gain a couple of things if you already have your fitness journey started. This isn't for that sort of person, though. This isn't for the person that's already started and it's gotten results already, because you already know what to start to do, right? If you already have the fundamentals to start your fitness path, then this isn't for you. But let me tell you who this is for, so that you can take some notes while you're going. People who are a novice and starting off in their fitness journey. If you've never touched a weight before, or if you've only thought about starting your journey, this is for you. We have some really good stuff that we're going to talk about. This is also for you if you've been on and off with your fitness journey and never really got to a level that you've desired to get to. I'm sure you, like myself and many other people, have gone through times where you start, you stop, you start, you stop, and that can be really frustrating because you never get to see the results that you want come to fruition. This is for you because we're going to talk about how to realistically set yourself up for success. This is also for you if you've tried figuring it out on your own for far too long and want to stop thinking about it on your own. A lot of people as we start getting into it now, what I found after training people for 6 years is that people are tired of figuring it out on their own. They'll show up to the gym, they'll sign up for a gym membership, whatever it is, 10, 20, 30, 40 bucks, and with some cardio. Do I strength train? Do I do cardio? Do I join that class? What do I do with myself? I already have all these things going on in my own lifestyle. I have kids at home. I'm a full-time student. I have a full-time job. I got to drive everywhere. I got to cook the kids dinner. I got to cook myself dinner. I'm tired of thinking about all of this because I'm trying to also do my other hobbies that I like doing. You might like gaming, going to a sports, playing other sports, and whatever other hobbies, activities that you have. The number one thing that I have found after so long is people ask themselves the following questions. Do I even want to think about how to get results? Do I even want to think about what I need to do in order to get to where I want to be? That question, I have seen more often than not, stop people from getting their results. And that's why we have coaches. That's why we have people to help us in whatever way. You don't need to dive full right into with a coach or a personal trainer or a nutritionist. You can see there are so many different methods that you could see have them help with us that are so cost effective. But this podcast is for you if you are just done thinking about what to do and you need some guidance. Where do I start? This podcast is for you if that's it. So, if that sounds like you, any of those, grab your coffee, your water, your tea, whatever you got, sit back and relax, because you and I are going to have a lovely conversation about what to do. I'm going to tell you where we're going to go with this. So, we're going to start with 3 different things. We're going to talk about nutrition, we're going to talk about fitness, and we're going to talk about mindset. All 3 of those matter, okay? We're going to break up nutrition into some general concepts that you need to follow no matter what your goal is. We're going to break that up into if you want to lose weight and body fat, or if you want to gain muscle and gain weight. we're going to talk about that. Or if you want to stay in the middle, where you just want to get yourself going, I'm going to show you how to get there. Most people want to drop body fat and want to gain some lean muscle. They want to get more energy in their life. And we're going to start to talk about that and how to do that with nutrition, no matter what. Talk about fitness. There are many different methods that you can use to get to where you want to be. They will involve strength training in some sort of way, but does it involve more cardio? Does it involve more strength training? Does it involve this method of strength training? Because there's many types. We're going to talk about that and what's right for you and your goals. Because how often do you hear, find what works for you? When you don't even know where to start with to begin with, and in a world of infinite possibilities and different answers, no one's saying just where to start. Find what works for you. Well, where do I freaking start? We're going to talk about that today. After that, after the physical fitness part, and we talk about that, we're not going to go over reps and sets and all the specifics. I'm just going to help you find out where to start, okay? Then we're going to talk about mindset, because without the mental strength and flexing that muscle to get stronger too, this could just go away tomorrow. And that also might be a part of the reason why that we fall behind and can't not figure out what we want to do. Continue with what we want to accomplish. We're gonna focus on that as well. And before we give the mindset, the nutrition, and fitness, I'm gonna give some pro tips. So we'll talk about some different supplements that you can do. We'll talk about where to engage yourself in a community of like-minded people. Is one-on-one, would a coach work for you? Would that can be considered more one-on-one training? Is group-oriented, small group-oriented, online for you? We're going to talk about some different ways to help you out. And I will, at the end of this podcast, just give you my services, because I am also an online fitness coach and nutritionist. At the end, I'll tell you how you can get a free consultation with me, if that speaks to you. Or I can at least just help start the conversation with yourself to where you can start to find answers for your own. Because at the end of the day, all I care about is you winning and getting what you want. And which is why I think you came here in the first place. So as long as we're on the same page with that, I think we can get started on what to talk about. So without further ado, let's start. 4. Getting your health and fitness goals is 80% nutrition and 20% physical fitness. Well, that's silly, because although there's merit to what that is, people who typically say that exaggerate the truth of how much food plays into you reaching your goals. But that's without a strategy first. They never consider what your lifestyle is like, what your medical history is like, what your current medical history is like, and where your goals align for in the future. You know what I mean? A good program for yourself will involve bringing your past and your present, like your lifestyle, your hobbies, your interests, and they will help bring your goals to help mesh with. We're going to talk about that today, how to mesh your past and present with what you want in the future to help you start a program for yourself that is creating with your lifestyle and your goals. Mesh them together, there you have a program. With that, you want to consider your lifestyle with where you are. And what you're able to. It's not realistic for everybody to have 5 or 6 meals a day. And that's more or less a false notion that you need to do that in order to lose weight. It definitely helps when you want to gain weight, because you need to just pile dry food into your mouth. But in terms of being healthy or losing weight and body fat, you don't necessarily have to. And we're going to start to talk about that right now. When it comes to nutrition, whether you want to gain weight or lose weight, the one thing that matters the most, the top pillar that needs to take place in all the principles of either or, any weight manipulation, is calories. Calories is just a fancy schmancy way of saying energy. We gain our energy from our food. We get them from four main sources. We get them from water, we get them from protein, carbs, and fats. Those are the magical four. Water's number one, because we can go long periods of time without eating food. But you can't really go for that long without drinking water. Put water at the top, okay? To calculate that, let me just show you how to do that, because we're going to go through some specific calculations today. If you're listening on Spotify, I will read out loud with what we are writing. So, let's start with water, okay? Before we get into calories, because this doesn't matter what your goal is. Here we go. So, when it comes down to water, feel free to screenshot, take pictures if you're looking on YouTube. But to figure out water intake, what you want to do, super easy, daily, you want to take your body weight, you want to divide it by 2. That's how many ounces to have a day. So, let's say if you take a 150-pound person. I'm going to use that as my example throughout the majority of this podcast, just so that we can keep going back to example A. But I want you to apply this to yourself, okay? When it comes to nutrition, water. In ounces, what you want to do is you want to take that's 75, you divide, I'm getting ahead of myself here, writing on the board, sorry. You take 150, you divide it by 2, you get 75 ounces, okay? 75 ounces daily. That's about 5 bottles of water. But the thing that, as a pro tip, just real quick, and I'm going to talk about it, get it like a big water jug. You know what I mean? It's much easier to carry around, and it's a time management thing. But starting off, no matter what your goal is, in terms of macros, get that much water. Take your body weight, divide it by 2. That's how many ounces you need a day. Make sense? Cool. As we get into our calories, you want to figure in your lifestyle. So, for most people, you probably have heard that 5-6 meals a day. There's a lot of merit to it. Some people prefer to eat 3 meals a day. Some people prefer to go intermittent fasting. They'll have 2, and a lot of people will have just one giant meal. And there's reasons for both. As a typical standard, I typically bring people around the 4 meal a day mark. That's a nice pace to help you out. So, amongst whatever your goal is, we're going to talk about that for each, if you want fat loss or if you want muscle gain, or if you want weight loss and weight gain. Let's start with calories. We need to understand a basic concept. So the basic concept is what the maintenance level, what you need daily, required just to maintain. The easiest way to do that is you are going to take your body weight, you're going to multiply it by the number 14. Don't ask me why. Science. That's just the way to do it. So, to find your calorie maintenance, let's say we have one person who's 150 pounds. We're going to multiply that by 14. You have daily 2,100 calories just to survive as a human being. To survive, to feel healthy, to have good, decent energy, and to just maintain that weight, okay? We need to understand that. Now, to get this, weight loss, the principle of weight loss is you need to be, at the end of the day, or at the end of the work week, or the end of the school week, what you need to do is you need to be below this mark. When I say you need to be below this maintenance level of calories, is you need to just be in there. You don't have to just eat in a calorie deficit. And that's where most fitness influencers, and it's not exactly correct to do. You will find that your body is not supposed to sustain itself inside of a calorie deficit for your entire life. That's not necessarily a healthy thing. It will affect your hormones over time if you stay there for a long time. It will affect how your energy is. It will affect your mood. It will affect how you digest food. How you digest food is all done through your gut, obviously, and that's a lot through hormone regulation. You know what I mean? Things that can factor into that, aside from genetics, how frequent that you eat, the types of food that you eat, and how it reacts to your body. Generally speaking, it's going to come down to how much calories at the end of the day that your body's ingesting. And when I say by the end of the week, whether you're gaining or losing weight, you don't need to track your weight every single day. Once a week is plenty sufficient to see what your weight is going to be like. And if you're not really a fan of the scale, I'm going to talk about a pro tip about that later on. Okay? Cool? Lovely. To gain weight, to gain muscle, the first principle that mark at the end of the day. You can be in a calorie deficit at the end of the day, and you can eat in a calorie deficit to help you, right? But you don't have to eat in a calorie deficit. You can do that through physical activity. That's how you burn calories. So, point being, you don't have to eat in a calorie deficit to lose weight, but you have to be in a calorie surplus to be able to gain weight. Factoring in an activity level is big. You don't have to go absolutely crazy and track everything that you're doing. I'm going to help out with what you're doing, but let's take the average person. You work, you go to school throughout the day. You're not as active, right? You're mainly sedentary and inactive. Perfectly fine. But you need to factor in, depending on your goal, what this is, okay? How to track that, you can do that through MyFitnessPal. There's plenty of apps of how to track your calories. MyFitnessPal is one of the easiest go-to way. You can download the app, and don't focus on, by the way, as a pro tip I'll give you right now, do not focus on MyFitnessPal's. Okay, it will typically tell you to eat way less, and that's not healthy nor sustainable or exactly correct. Okay, do what I tell you, and just use MyFitnessPal or whatever other app that you're doing to just track it. Okay, cool, lovely. So when it comes now to weight loss, let's talk about this. So inside of your calorie maintenance, inside of your calorie maintenance, off of that person who's 150 pounds, they need 2,100 calories to sustain. To get in a calorie deficit, I'm not going to tell you to eat less. I'm not going to tell you to eat more. I'm going to tell you to start around that mark. Whatever your formula is, start there. A 150-pound person who's eating 2,100 calories a day will put themselves into a calorie deficit by the activity level that they're already doing. Does that make sense? Buy that too on top of the exercise that you're going to be doing. Walking is the easiest and most free way to do that, right? If you're capable of walking, you don't got to pay a penny for it. The other thing that you can that you like doing, like let's say you enjoy walking and hiking. Let's say that you enjoy jiu-jitsu or adult sports leagues or college intramural leagues or high school leagues or like clubs. You know what I mean? Anything that's going to help just expend energy is going to help put you into a calorie deficit. Okay? Does that make sense so far? Now you're probably looking at that and saying, that number's a lot. Like, I gotta eat a lot. Yes. Two phrases I hear very often with my clients and the people that I train, and that how I know they are going to lose weight, is after I give them their calories and their protein to eat, they look at me and they say two things. God, I'm finding myself full and I don't really think I can eat any more throughout the day. That's typically a sign that it's going to be working. You would be surprised by eating more, and we're going to calculate protein in a little bit for that. You would be surprised at what that does for you. You don't have to be eating. You don't have to be so boring, okay? It's just a matter of making sure that you, at the end of the day, 5-6 days out of the week, you are in a calorie deficit. Give yourself a day, like a Sunday or a weekend day or whatever is your weekend day. Give yourself one day to give yourself a refeed, meaning that you eat a little bit over that much. Does that make sense to you? A little bit over this formula's answer. I want you to eat a little bit more. That replenishes, it kickstarts your body, and, little fun fact for you, that typically, you might see your weight go up a little bit the next day, but that extra food, I found to start kicking in the metabolism a little faster, and you'll start to see a little bit more of a weight loss and fat loss with that happening. And I typically see with this formula too, on top of the protein we're going to talk about in a second, of how fast and efficient it actually works. I am not promising anything fast, but I'm telling you, it works really well, and it will keep you lean. Where I wanted to go with that, it's a good rate fat weekly. Not always are you going to see the scale drop every single week, and that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. The weight of your body is accumulated of your skeleton, muscles, tendons, water, your nervous system, for crying out loud, water retention, right? The food content in your stomach, all your organs, right? That's just the sum weight, right? So it's most people, what they're really asking for is fat loss. Because if you wanted to lose weight, I can just cut your arm off. Bam, you just lost 15 pounds. Next, what's up? You see what I'm saying? Like, so while what you're truly asking for is fat loss when we're talking about that. This, to be that specific, though, is what you want to make sure that we're talking about. And to lose fat, you want to be, and weight overall, losing between a half pound to 2 pounds a week is a great range to be in. But just make sure that while you're weighing yourself, don't always rely on that. That's why I tell them to have before and after pictures. The way that I train people, I do that once a week with them, because while they eat what I tell them to, and I'm helping coach them through to better their relationship with food, and while they're exercising too, you can almost, if you're a novice and you're starting off, you can almost see results every week or every other week, right? So I would at least do it once a month, do before and after pictures, and you'll be able to see front, back, and side, right? Full front view, full side view, full back view. You'll be able to see and narrow, strip down to the minimal amount of clothes that you feel comfortable with. If you're a female, like bathing suit, sports bra and everything, underwear. And guys, same thing. Like, go down your underwear so you could see as much muscle that you can. See how you're shrinking, right? Do what I tell you to. This will work, okay? Oh, I'm moving my camera and everything. So that's a good range. Anything more than 2 pounds, that's awesome, but don't expect it every week. Anything less than that too, like anything less than a half pound, don't always rely on that, because muscle gain is now. Look up a pound of muscle versus a pound of fat, or even 5 pounds of muscle versus 5 pounds of fat. Look at the picture side by side. It will shock you to see what the difference is between them. So, because if your numbers are going up in the gym, I did a couple of more presses, I did a little bit more squats this week, you're probably gaining muscle. You're gaining freaking muscle, right? So, the scale does not always tell the full story. It can't always tell you your water weight. There's many weight scales that can now. Not all of them are very accurate, though. Typically, the more money you spend with them, the more accurate they are, but it's just a sum of everything that's involved in. So do not use the scale as your only method of finding out. How do your clothes fit? Do they fit differently? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? Are you performing better in the gym? Look at progress in every way else. There are so many more avenues of being able to see progress. That's a big pro tip for you. I'll leave that for later on as well. Scale does tell the story, how your clothes fit, how you perform in the gym, how you look in the mirror. How do you feel about yourself? How's your relationship with yourself going? How do you see yourself? Are you loving yourself more? Are you appreciating the fact that I might not have gotten the results as fast as I want, but me staying consistent and me going after what I want feels awesome? If you're having those conversations with yourself, you're freaking winning. And don't let anybody else tell you different. Cool? Amazing. Moving on now. So we just talked about our calories. Now, next formula we're going to talk about, very simply, last one, protein. Don't worry so much about carbs and fats. They're just going to fit into the overall calorie intake that you have. And you'll find that as long as you're having higher quality food, 80-90% of the time, you want to be eating healthy anyway. The other 10-20%, leave yourself some room for fun. There's no such thing as a cheat meal. There's just good and bad things that happen with food, right? It's too much of anything is going to be a bad thing, right? For example, too much spinach, raw spinach, can cause kidney stones in your bodies over a long period of time. Those oxalates, there's these things called oxalates found in spinach, for example, and what they do is they can calcify in your body, and typically they attach themselves onto kidneys, onto your kidneys. Over time, if you just have like cups of raw spinach every day, and you have that for years and years and years, that could calcify and develop into kidney stones. So it doesn't have to just come from milk or calcium tablets. Like some darker, leafier green vegetables can have that, but something really easy to just take away that calcification process. If you cook your spinach or steam them or any of the vegetables, typically that you'll never have a problem. That could take away the oxalates by up to I think it's somewhere near 60-ish%, something like that. So I mean, don't even worry about it. It's nothing to do it. Still have spinach, for crying out loud, God. But again, too much of anything is going to be bad. That's a prime example for you. You know what I'm saying? So 80-90% of the time, have high quality food. The other 10-20%, don't freaking worry about it. Go have some friggin' Wendy's, for crying out loud. God. Anyway, moving on, talking about protein. So I'm going to give you two parts here, okay? You want to have more protein than you think, and they never get specific. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. So break out your notes, or feel free to take a screenshot, or whatever, okay? I'm going to give two different examples here. Where I typically like to start people in terms of protein count is within the following range, okay? So inside of that calorie maintenance phase for someone who wants to lose weight and body fat, eat up to that answer, okay? You can still eat in a calorie deficit, but just eat up to there, okay? But what you want to do, though, is you're going to start with the following. You're going to have two different formulas here, and follow along as I'm writing this out on the full YouTube episode. You're going to take your body weight, and you're going to multiply that by 0.8 in a calculator. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your body weight, and you're going to multiply it by 1, which is basically your body weight. So let's take a 150-pound person. In between this range, this is what you want to eat daily. So if you're 150 pounds, that's going to be in between 120 grams and 150 grams of protein every single day. That out in my description while I was speaking. These two formulas, your body weight times 0.8 and your body weight times 1 is how many grams you want to have of protein every single day. Okay? Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, James, that's a lot of freaking protein. I don't know if I can get upwards of there. Give it a shot. I know it's a lot, but give it a shot. You would be shocked as to what this could do for you. Between giving yourself more energy, feeling more satiated throughout the day, which is why I say I give a standard 4 meals throughout the day. It gives a nice pace to go throughout, right? It gives yourself enough time to digest before you get to your next meal, right? But sometimes, male or female, sometimes that could feel like a lot of protein. And if you have a hard time starting there, what I'm going to tell you is another set of formulas. So, what I would say, male or female, typically I see females have a harder time because in males, testosterone, the amount of testosterone males typically carry, does help you to eat more, digest a little easier. Females a little bit less, and then I have them add, but it doesn't matter who you are. If you can't stomach that much, don't do it. Start at the following formula. So you're going to take, or this range rather, you're going to take your body weight, you're going to multiply it by 0.65, and in the second formula, you're going to take your body weight, and you're going to multiply that by 0.8. So Inside of this range is where you want to try to go. So for a person who's 150 pounds, this ends up being about 97.5 grams of protein. Don't be so freaking specific. Just round it up to 100, okay? Whatever it is, just round it up. Make your life easy. So that's going to be between 100 grams daily, and the next formula between 100 and 120 grams daily. Aim for that range. You will still get results that way. You will still get results with this method, I'm telling you, okay? So inside of that calorie range, you want to focus on these two methods to start. Everyone's standard, like I said, is between that 0.8 and 1-to-1 ratio of your body weight. But right here. Cool? Lovely. That's where we want to begin there. So take that number, now that you have that number with whatever your body weight is, I want you to take that number and however many meals that you're going to be eating throughout the day is the only thing that you really need to figure out on top of that, okay? If you work a lot, or if you go to school a lot, or if you have a very busy schedule, maybe 3 meals works. You know, maybe you could sneak in a snack, which is why people typically bring like easy-to-go snacks like a protein shake or yogurt or cottage cheese, or there's plenty of muffins. Like some people make protein muffins or bars. I'm not the biggest fan of bars because many of them are super processed, way less processed than shakes are, generally speaking. But regardless, you want to divide that range that you get, that bottom number, like that 0.65, divide that by, let's say if you have the standard 4 meals a day, divide that by 4. Every meal, you want to try to have at the minimum 25 grams of protein, okay? James, what? Take the size of your palm, like the size and thickness of your palm. For most people, that falls in between the realm of 20 to 30 grams of protein. If your hands are smaller, it's closer to that 20. If they're a little more medium-sized, they're probably towards that 30 to 40 gram mark. Larger hands can go, is basically the equivalent of, could be the equivalent of up to 40 grams palm size, though. But regardless, that's something that really easy to eye up. If you don't want to weigh out your food, food scales and grams are they're super easy to, and they are one of the most accurate ways that you can weigh out your food. And over time, you get really good at eyeing it up. So food scales or measuring them out in cups, in any of those methods are one of the most efficient ways that you can do that, so that you understand how much that you need to have, and you start to develop an eye for it. But figure that the size and the palm size, that's where you want to start with, okay? Maybe you might need a palm and a half, right? Anyway, you might need 2 palms worth, so that's like a whole chicken breast, right? Or a nice good 8-ounce sirloin steak, This is around, give or take, 4 ounces, 3 to 5 ounces, depending on the size of your hand, So that's just something, if you don't want to count calories, just eyeing that up is good to go. You know what I mean? So while we're on that topic, by the way, carbs is just really easy. Carbs, figure this is about around a cup-ish. So whatever you can have a scoop of your hand, if you cup your one hand, that's about a cup-ish of carbs. So let's take rice, oatmeal, potatoes, fruit, etc., right? If you're trying to gain, you're trying to go a little bit more, right? But that's basically that. If you go to cooking your fats, like oils and butter, and or if you have like peanut butter or something, like if you have for a snack, figure the size of your thumb is about a good serving size. Fats, while we're on that topic, fats are really heavy in calories. I'll even show you while we're talking about it, just so that you can see, okay? Super easy info right here, okay? For every okay? Every 1 gram equals 4 calories, okay? So, excuse me, a typical serving size of about 25 grams of protein is typically going to be about 100 calories, okay? Same thing with carbs. It's a 1-to-4 ratio. 1 gram equals 4 calories. So 25 grams of carbs is going to be about 100-ish calories, okay? ish. But fats, and there's good fats, okay? Most people don't have enough fat in their diet. So if you want to try to get to your calorie count because it's too high, 2,100 seems like too high, that answer does, you can do that with fats. Because for every 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, okay? So if, let's say, you have a serving size, a thumb size worth of oil, okay? Typically, that's about a tablespoon or so, so that's about 14 grams, okay? That's roughly 120 calories right there. Figure if you need to get your calorie count, and you add a little bit more fat, add a second serving of fat, that'll put you up to 240, 250 calories just like that if you have 2 tablespoons. Cool? So there's a little pro tip for you. So, and how macros work. All I want you to focus on, though, is just the protein. You're going to go very, very far with focusing on your protein and your water inside of that calorie range. Your carbs and fats are just going to fit themselves in. But there's your pro tip. If you need to try to up your calories a little bit, have a little bit more of the good fats. Good fats. Peanuts, different nuts, seeds, oils, things like that. Avocado, that being, it's more of a fruit, but it's a fat based, okay? And yes, I just said nuts are a fat source. Peanuts, almonds, they are not protein sources. They are fat sources that happen to have protein inside of them. Like a serving of like a quarter cup of almonds, for example, that's 9 grams of fat and about 4 grams of protein, 4 or 5 depending on what brand you get, you know. So there's your fun fact of the day. So that's more of a fat source. Link something in the description to help you have a shopping list of protein, carbs, and fats. Tell you what, I'll do that. I'll put that in the description down below. So if you're on Spotify, go to the YouTube, because I can't link that here. Go to my YouTube page that I have in the description, and then go there. Look for this episode 6, and then I'll link some of those shopping lists for you. Cool. Lovely. So that's in terms of if you want to have fat loss and weight loss. Okay. Any questions? Link them down in the comments, and I will happily answer them. Okay. Or shoot me a DM on any of my social media pages. Okay. Lovely. So let's talk about muscle gain and weight gain. So this is a very similar concept. Okay. You just have to do the opposite pretty much. You have to eat a lot. Okay. If you are let's go off of that calorie count. So we have a 150-pound person, let's say, times that by 14, you get 2,100. Like I said before, you can eat in a calorie deficit, or you can put yourself, okay? It's both activity and eating, calories in, calories out. But to put yourself in a calorie surplus, the only answer is you have to eat more, okay? If we were to try to make you look like a wonderful, beautiful sculpture, we need 2 things. We need food, and we need some tools along the way, okay? To make you into this world's most beautiful sculpture, if we're crafting this, I need to get a lot of clay mold onto you. How do we do that? I'm going to ingest you with food, okay? But to carve you out, to make sure that we're not just gaining weight for the sake of gaining weight and just eating without working out, so that we're utilizing that to build beautiful, solid muscle and lean muscle with that, right? We want to make sure that we have some tools to carve out for the job, which is fitness. So if I'm crafting the sculpture, I have a little sharpener. I might have a little carving tool that I use that with, right? So while I'm throwing some onto those shoulders of yours, as I'm throwing that food on to help get that, to carve it out and to grow that lean muscle, we're going to take that tool, we're going to start to carve it out more, right? You have to make days, because after you just broke down all that muscle, you're sore, you're feeling it, ow, oh God. We need to make sure that we recover, and we recover by good sleep and really good food, okay? So while we're doing this, to get the sculpture, we need to eat more. At the end of the day and at the end of the week, you need to be in a calorie surplus, okay? What I typically tell people to do is not to go too crazy, all right? Don't go overboard, don't go nuts, But we're going to develop a range for you. So let's say you're a little bit inactive. Let's say if you have a full-time job, you have a couple hobbies on the side, but you're not as active, right? The more active you are, the more food you need to eat to make sure you're in a surplus. So at the start, to put you in a surplus, I'm not going to tell you to eat like 1,000 calories more. That wouldn't make sense unless you are much more active, right? But let's start with an additional 200 calories on top of this. Sound fair? So if we, on one side of the range, we're going to plus 200, and on the other side of the range, just don't get obsessed with just the number, you know. If you fall in a range, you're going to be fine, because some days, like the days that you train, you need to eat a little bit more because you burned some calories. You need to make sure you're in a surplus. So while you're there, let's add another 500 on top of that, okay? So if you are in between that maintenance formula that we took out, right, if you are an additional 200 and an additional 500, you're looking pretty good. So if you're a 150-pound person, for example, that's looking like something like this. 2,300 calories a day to 2,600 calories a day inside of that range. Does that make sense to you? I hope so, because this isn't a back and forth conversation. It's more of like you're listening, and I'm just telling you what to do. So I hope you don't have any questions, but if you do, throw them down in the comments down below. So now, while we are in this calorie surplus, it's not just going to be about pile driving just food for the sake of food. I want you to eat healthy too. You're going to figure out how to just work in your carbs and fats, just like I said, okay? But what you want to do with that is then focus. Okay, that's what's going to feed that. Your body's made up of 70-odd% water. The next thing it's made up of most is protein, which is about 17%. Everything else is smaller portions of carbs and fats, okay, and other different molecules, okay? But protein's the next in line, so that should tell you that we should really focus on drinking water and eating protein. So to calculate that, we're going to make this following formula, okay? I want you to start, both man or woman, I want you to go for the following range, okay? Take your body weight. We're going to times it by 1, which is going to be your body weight. That's going to be the lower end of the grams of protein that you need daily. The next part of the formula series that we're going to do is you're going to take your body weight, you're going to times it by 1.25. Okay, some say 1.2, some say 1.1, some say 1.5, okay? Just start right in the middle of 1 and 1.5, okay? We're just going to go with 1.25. It'll give you a fair range to work with, okay? That's going to be the higher end of what you eat grams-wise protein a day. So if you're a 150, inside of that calorie count that we just figured out, we're going to take on the lower end 150 grams daily, and that ends up being a quarter of 150 is 37 and a half. Don't be, okay, just round up, all right? That rounds up to 40, okay? So add an additional 40 onto that. That's 190 grams on the higher end, okay? Every day, okay? I'm writing that out on the board if you can't see that, okay, if you're taking notes. This is what you want to be if you're going to be in a calorie surplus to gain weight, gain muscle, okay? We don't just want to gain weight for the sake of gaining weight. We want to make sure that we're staying within a fairly lean body type, okay? And that we are also within a fair range of protein. The other part that you just need to really consider, because water is going to still be the same thing that we figured out earlier. The only other thing that you really need to focus on, though, is your carbs. You'll hear from many different coaches, many different people, manipulation of carbs and fats. You had a specific event you had to show up for because you needed to get paid for it, or if you didn't show up, you weren't going to have a job at the end of the day, we would be talking a lot more specific. But I'm just giving you very general principles to go by, because I don't know who you are, and you don't know who I am, but somehow we ended up meeting, and you thought, hey, you kind of know a thing or two, let me learn from them. I'm just showing you general principles to go by. Next thing that I would just say is make sure that your carbs are up. I'm not going to give you a specific number because I don't want you to go crazy, but every meal that you have, I want you to have a pretty decent of carbs, which might look like the following. Take your hands, put them together so that they look like you're cupping your hands together. That's basically a cup and a half or two of carbs, okay? So that could be rice, like I used examples before. Rice, oatmeal, fruit, potatoes, right? There's whatever other carb sources that that there are. Okay, there's plenty of them out there, but those are the heavier ones that people typically know the most. You start there. You can fit yourself up to that, right? That's what you want to do. So, on a muscle building routine, it would help if you need to pile drive a lot of food into your mouth. So, eating more frequently. 4 to 6 meals a day is good. If you're more, like let's say you want to gain a lot of weight, then you might need some more meals than that, right? But typically speaking, if you're an average person, 4 to 6 meals a day is going to be plenty, okay? Your main meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, if you want to call it that, there are no specific foods that just belong to that meal. Like, eggs are not just a breakfast food, okay? You can have eggs at any meal. Like, you can have an egg salad for lunch, for crying out loud, okay? But whatever it is that you do, breakfast, lunch, dinner, have those higher end portion sizes. Have, for your protein, what that looks like, that might look like, a palm and a half size of your protein, okay? If you were to eye that up. Take your palm, add another half to that. That's basically what you're looking at in terms of what you want on your plate at the main meals. Might be a palm and a half or two, which might look like 6 ounces, 6 to 8 to 10 ounces, right? Sometimes more, okay? But that's what you want to look like. Your meals are, you divide that by 4 or 6, 5, however many meals you are. That's how many what you want to try to do in your sitting, right? In every meal. Your snacks might look different, so you might have 2 snacks throughout the middle of between your meals. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack 1, snack 2. You know what I mean? You might have a pre-bed snack as well if you're having up to 6 or more, like I said. But if you are on that 150-pound person on the lower end, between 150 and 190 grams, right? What you want to do is you want to take that first number, divide that by 4, okay? And that number that you get, which is, for this one, that's about, that's about 37, 38, 37 and a half, okay? Just round it up to 40, okay? You want to try to have at least, 37 grams of protein at every meal, of those big meals, okay? Good snacks for that, like I said, shakes, yogurts, higher protein yogurts are a great option. Protein-based muffins, bars are also it, because at the end of the day, you just need some shopping list down that you can have in the description so that you can see what your options are, right? Proteins, carbs, fats, bam. So that's what you want to try to have every meal, at least, or at least definitely the main meals. Like, try to have the bigger portions for then, right? And divvy up in smaller portions later on. That's my tip to you, okay? So that is basically how you gain weight. You gain muscle, okay? Any questions, link them down in the comments, or if you're on Spotify, go over to my comments, shoot me a message into the social media, okay? Any of my social media, send me a question. I'll happily answer them, okay? Oh, God. Now, moving on from there, okay? Let's talk about fitness. When it comes down to fitness, there are many methods. You might think, when it comes to weight loss, or muscle gain, or weight gain, rather, that your reps and sets are going to look different. Your methods are going to look different. And yes, depending on your goal, it might look different. Do to gain lean muscle and it's going to come down to some sort of strength training or cardio expenditure in whatever way. Energy expenditure if you're trying to lose weight and lose body fat. You can do that through sport activities. It doesn't have to just be strength training related or cardio related or you jumping onto a treadmill, okay? It does not have to be that. What I find the most efficient, I should say. I don't want to say the best, because that's just a term tossed around in the fitness industry like no one's business. There's no best anything. The best is going to be what you enjoy the most, and that is working. Okay? But to find that for you, where you will gain really efficient results is at least having some sort of strength training to accompany your program overall. 2 or 4 days of strength training is going to be plenty, okay? I would start, if you're starting off, start with 2. If you're feeling good and you're recovering well, go for 3. And if you're feeling froggy, go for 4, okay? If you're enjoying it, go for 4. Well, and that's involved through how well you sleep. It's involved with how well you eat, and it also involves with how you manage your stress. All of those couple with how you recover, okay? Good stress and bad stress. It doesn't matter, because all stress is stress, okay? When you are starting off, I would recommend, out of the many methods that you can do, I would recommend starting full body for like the first month, just to make sure that your full body is getting accompanied with how to move, okay? So if you're starting off 2 days a week, I would start full body. There are many things you can pull with your upper body. You can push with your upper body. I can do pull downs like on a machine. I can do rows with the machine. I can do pull-ups and body weight rows. There are many different methods to do that, right? There's bench press, there's push-ups, there's overhead presses. There's so many different ways to move your upper body. Pushing and pulling is how you typically do that. You can also do that with your lower body. You can push with your lower body, and you can pull, like lying leg curls, for example, or Romanian deadlifts. I'm just naming a couple different exercises. Workout that you do, you don't need to be spending over an hour. You don't need to do it. There are plenty of effective ways that you can do that within 10 minutes, for crying out loud. If you are gaining muscle, though, it's going to really help out to spend a little bit more time, though. Okay, because you need to throw the clay on, like I had said earlier. I mean, we just need to get clay on you, right? So spending a little bit more time in a session overall is good. A super effective session is about 45 minutes, up to an hour, okay? Anything less than that is still great, and you are still doing it. You can do a lot in a half hour. You can do a ton and efficient work in 20 minutes. There are protocols and different things that you can do within 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Drop down, do as many push-ups as you can at an incline level, or if you can do push-ups on the ground, whatever progression stage you are, just rip them out. Go to failure one set. Like, you can go for a walk in 5 minutes. There are so many ways. There's never ever a reason that you can't do an exercise. Okay? Even if you're having a super shitty day and be like, oh, that's okay. To just get whatever that you need done right here, let's drop down, let's start to do some squats. Whatever progression of squats that you're capable of doing, start there. Whatever of push-up progression, or if you have some small weights, right? If you can go for a walk for 5 minutes, all of that counts. Beyond that, though, what a session should look like. 45 minutes is statistically proven that you're going to be able to spend the most amount of time and energy efficiently within 45 minutes. Obviously, that means giving yourself breaks, too. You don't just want to hammer away for 45 minutes. It shouldn't look like that. If a strength training routine looks like 45 minutes, then you would want to make sure that you take your breaks, have efficient breaks, so that you can, each set that you do, whatever you're doing, is able to be replicated under quality. And I wouldn't always recommend going to failure. There's 2 different types of failure. There's muscular failure and there's technical failure. Where you want to be spending most of your time, and the large majority of your time, is in technical failure. Your muscles give out. If you go to technical failure, like if I'm doing overhead presses, for example, I'm going to go until my form starts to break, okay? Start lighter with weight would be one of my suggestions to you, because you can always add as you go. It's harder to start heavier and then take away weight because you realize you can't lift it as effectively. That's a hard part of managing our ego, and yes, our ego is absolutely involved in it. But to manage ourselves, start lower, because you can always add. it sucks when you take away weight, you know? That's my really big tip for you there. And if I have to clear my throat, guys, I'm sorry. I'm just getting over COVID right now, so surprise. But beyond that, that's where I would say to start. With whatever that you're doing, go to technical failure first, okay? Aside from starting with full body routines, to divvy that up, other methods that you can do, something called push-pull legs. Upper body pushing motions like bench press, overhead press, push-ups, incline bench press, things that involve the chest, the front and sides of the shoulders, your triceps, legs, your midsection, your obliques, your abdomen, lower back. All these things are being involved in strengthening, so you don't always have to work your abs. They're going to be worked anyway in the bigger movements. Pulling motions, what they call rows. I pull things to me. I can pull down, I can pull horizontally, I can pull on angles, I can maneuver my body bent over, I can be upright, I can be seated, I can be standing, I could be hanging. Many different ways to do that. Muscles that are involved in that typically on your back, your lats, things that are called your rhomboids, your traps that run all the way from the middle of your back up through your neck, your rear shoulders or your rear deltoids, meaning the rear shoulder, right? You can also involve your biceps and your forearms with that. Your forearms will also get worked a lot. That's upper pulling motions. And legs. I think you can figure that out. Your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, your calves, etc., right? All of that will be involved. And typically where people will do that is a 3-day-a-week schedule. Push, pull, legs, if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Push, pull, legs. If it's not every other day that you can get a rest day in between, which is the more optimal way. But let's say if you can fit in like Tuesday, Wednesday, and that third day, it might be Saturday. Awesome. As a general rule of thumb, I want you to give yourself a rest period in between work days, if you can possibly. If you can't, my message to you would just be, try to do, if it has to be back-to-back, like Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, or whatever that it is, try to divvy it up upper body to lower body so that you can give yourself the rest to be able to work the most efficiently and that you're not dying the next day. So there's a pro tip for you in terms of fitness. Other ways to do it, it doesn't have to just be specific muscle oriented. There are different kind of skill-based sort of ways like kettlebell training and calisthenic training. Other unconventional ways of training. You might see CrossFit as an example, which is why a lot of people like to join a community or small group classes. What's going to be right for you? No matter what you do, I recommend that you get involved something around people. Even if you just go to the gym to train on your own. Get to know people in the gym. A lot of people where they find themselves kind of lacking is that they haven't, that they might want to feel like a part of a group. A lot of coaches and fitness instructors will do sort of in-person small group training based or big group classes, right? Big group classes could be up to 20, 30, 50 people sometimes. Small group training is still a little bit more of a private atmosphere, but they might only train up to 10, 15 people max so that they still keep it pretty private, right? And that you could still get the attention that you need, right? That way is that a lot of people like. It's also a little bit more cost effective in terms of personal training, but you might want one-on-one training too. I'm just going off on a little tangent from a fitness coach standpoint, right? And there's also online. There's plenty of community. There are infinite amount of communities. Where's my phone? This thing is a freaking gem. There are so many communities out there now, man. Oh my God. There are so many communities at your fingertips and so many coaches that are putting stuff out there for good stuff. Whether you follow me or not, whatever. But there are so many people out there that you can join and be a part of. Oh my God. So in terms of fitness, I would say it definitely it doesn't always matter the method that you go by. Sometimes, that's why a lot of people try like kickboxing classes or, dance classes, Zumba classes, because you get to burn a lot of calories in those times, right? And it's a lot of fun too. It's sustainable. Whatever you choose, if it's martial arts related, like jiu-jitsu, that's like, I know so many people lose weight on jiu-jitsu. I've been training martial arts since 1999. I can tell you this. People join for physical activity as well, right? As they join the membership and they belong a part of a community. They make friends. You choke each other out. You punch each other, or you just punch the bag with each other. Whatever it is, it's a lot of fun. Anyway, that's a big pro tip that I have for you. Is if you can in some way involve yourself in community-based, I highly recommend that you do that. If you're somebody who knows that you want to be left a little bit more alone, or you want to just start there because you want to get comfortable with the thing yourself, go for it. But we go a really long way with helping each other win and get each other's goals. The community anyway, or at least gaining friends and acquaintances in that realm. You know what I'm saying? So, if you are trying to build muscle, though, I would highly recommend getting on a strength training routine. And even if you're wanting to lose weight, I highly recommend getting on a strength routine first, and then add cardio. I would prioritize nutrition and strength training and sleep before I would cardio. And the reason is because strength training will burn calories in the long run. Cardio will burn calories right now. What I mean by that is strength training is like long-term investing money. You might not be a millionaire in 5 years, but if you invest for the next 30-odd years, you're going to get a lot of money. You're going to have a really large portfolio of money. And how that equates to you is that you, while at rest, if you have more lean muscle, you're going to burn more calories at rest. So overall, you're not gonna need to worry about how you burn calories. You ever know somebody who that they can just pile dry food into their mouth no matter what they eat, no matter how much they eat of it? I'm sure you know somebody like that. We all know someone like that. That's because they burn more calories, whether they have lean muscle mass or they just have a very active lifestyle to begin with. By the end of the week or by the end of the day, they've burned so many calories that it equates out to just canceling out to put them near a maintenance level, or at least into a calorie deficit. So that's my big tip to you. Cardio, the cardio part of that is let me say it like this. The cardio part of it is kind of like winning a scratch-off ticket. You won that money right now. You won $20, you won 10, 5, $50. But that's just going to be put back into, I'm going to spend that on a pair of shoes. I'm going to spend that on some lunch. I'm going to spend that $5 on a coffee. I'm going to spend that $5. I'm going to buy another scratch-off ticket. That money's going to go away quick. But it still didn't build anything into your savings. It didn't build anything to where while you're at rest, like a long-term investment, that you could still gain money over time. That you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? So, but an awesome your health, and there are strength benefits that you want for yourself. A good program can balance both out, right? Where you want to prioritize yourself, for most people, you're going to want to do strength training. Obviously, if you're a cardio-based athlete, you might want to prioritize cardio, but again, I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking about to the people who are wanting to start to add fitness or trying to make sense of it into their already lifestyle. So that's how you do that. Prioritize strength training first. Then if you want to go for your walk, right, add in your walks 3 times a week. You know what I mean? Like 3 days strength training, 3 days walk, or 2 days, however that ratio. I would start, if you've never done it before, I would start 2 and 2. 2 days strength training. If you want to walk, do it later. If you're going to do it all in one session, strength train first, then do cardio after. Imagine doing cardio first, and then you have to now expand energy to then do heavy lifts. Come on. That's exhausting now. I don't want to think about did all of this work on my lungs and my heart? Because at the end of that, you can at least go for your steady pace walk, jog, lighter cardio, whatever that might be. It would make more sense to do strength training first. You feel? Cool. So that's what I wanted to cover on the fitness. Now let's talk about mindset. Or, I'm sorry, pro tips. Pro tips for that. I just threw out a whole bunch of you. If you're, let's start with this. You might want to consider a supplement or two. When I say supplement, it doesn't have to just be vitamins. It could be a protein, right? It could be creatine if you're on a muscle building program. Creatine monohydrate, and I'll throw two at you. Creatine monohydrate is going to help retain a little bit of water, but it's going to help you give that extra power in your performance. And that's going to help you build muscle. Keep that just as simple as possible for you. A serving a day is awesome, right? 5 grams about a day. I would do this in cycles because it's always nice to just give your body a little bit of a rest. So, but you can have this, you can be on this for the rest of your life. This is one of the most well-documented and researched supplements. Actually, the number one to do. If you want to lose weight and be on this too, that's fine. You might just retain a little bit more water, but that's really no big deal. But definitely, if you're building muscle, I would definitely say grab yourself creatine monohydrate. And one of my really good friends, Tom, owns a supplement shop. If you use my code, I will link it. He can, whether in store or online, use my code James. You get 10% off anything in his store, online or in person. So I'll link that down in the description below. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Another supplement that you might want. Protein. So it might feel sometimes that you don't know all the different sources to go to. Obviously, chicken, steak, turkey, yogurts, the whole 9 yards. I don't know how you're going to list them. But these things, super easy to ingest. It's an easy grab and go sort of thing, so you don't have to constantly think about what to do. You can also make these with different recipes. I make protein muffins that are the freaking bomb with these, so that's another thing that you can do. Look for Kung Foody's Kitchen episodes coming to a theater near you. We talk about high-protein meals and how to create them to meet your fitness goals, to keep them simple, time-saving, and delicious. Otherwise known as STD. I am sorry I just gave that to you. That's my nutrition show that I do. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Anyway, so that's what you wanted. We'll look for that in the future. Other pro tips. While you're ingesting your water, there's a reason that people have these giant water bottles with them. It's not just about looking cool, although some people actually want to do that. It's about time management. Set yourself up for time management. A way to do that is, instead of going, if you have 5 bottles of water to drink, it's going to be a really big hassle for you to just keep going back and forth, right? They sell bottles, and this is 64 ounces. I carry this thing every day with me. I go in between 1.5 and 2 of these a day because of how active I am. So, and according to my goals. That thing is a lifesaver. You have it on with you, you fill it up in the morning, you're good to right? They're one of the management. Another pro tip, while you're cooking your food, and whether meal prep will be a solution for you or not, it definitely could be, plan out your weeks. Now you don't have to go down to the nitty gritty, but choose a couple things that you know that you want to have. Leave yourself room for some freedom. What I do recommend having is, while you store your food, I would get a glass container or storage container. This, no matter what plastic container you get, they are somewhat, no matter, even if the company says, BPA free, and it's how do I say it? They get contaminated with food. Every company is going to, at some degree, contaminate your food. These won't. And the glass containers will preserve your food so much better. It'll keep the flavor, it'll keep the taste, it'll keep the juiciness of the food you have, and it'll last a little bit longer. On top of way easier to clean. You'll probably spend a little bit of money with it at first, but man, once you have it, their shelf life is so much longer to keep than the plastic able to spend. Okay, so, and I know, as we were talking about some pro tips along the way, if I know I'm missing a couple, I want to make sure that we're doing good on time too, obviously. So any questions, link them down in the description or into the comment sections. Throw them at me. You know where to find me now. So those are a couple of pro tips to go by. Okay, let's talk about mindset before we sign off here. I want to make sure that you understand a couple of things. I don't know how long you've been thinking about your goals for. I don't know how long you've negotiated, giving it a full shot to go after the things that you desire. It could have been months, it could be years, it could be decades that you've decided that you haven't taken care of yourself, and you've wanted to, but you don't know how it fits into your life. You maybe been trying to figure it out this whole time on your own. And that stinks. I encourage you to seek help in some sort of way. But no matter what, I know if you've made it into this podcast and you've been listening, I know that it means something to you. And if it means something to you, it means something to me. Maybe you've decided this New Year's that you're finally going to start. If you're not listening on New Year's, that's fine too. Right now, you decided that you were going to start. You've made a promise to yourself, and you deserve to keep that promise to yourself. It's not easy, because there are many times that we do want to just fall off and just say screw it. That's easy. And it does come down to discipline, and it does come down to motivation. They both work in. But we want to make sure that we are disciplining ourselves. Motivation will ride the motivation wave. We need to keep up with what we are doing, and we need to instill discipline in our life. And the only piece of advice that I'm going to say to start is to just continually show up. I am not saying discipline yourself. You're not going to have a 100% ready to go session. We're already let's just get past. You're going to have setbacks. You are going to have hard days at work, hard days at school. You are going to get injured. You are going to have financial setbacks. There are going to be days where your schedule just completely falls apart, and you're going to want to just be like, and now I have to go work out. Now I have to go do this. Oh my God, this is exhausting. This is time that's dedicated to you. I don't know how much of your life right now you dedicate to yourself, but you deserve to give yourself a couple of hours a week to give back to yourself and your health. You deserve that to yourself, and I don't know if anyone's ever told you that before. You might have never told yourself that even before, that I deserve to give myself, set aside time to myself, to developing my physicality, to developing my mental strength, to developing my spirituality. And you might have negotiated that yourself with that for a long time. If you haven't heard it before, I'll tell you it right now. You deserve it. You deserve to set aside your time to making sure that you are developing in these ways, because your goals matter too. Maybe you've put time off to the side because you've placed other people first. And that's okay, but you matter too. Most of us, at least in the Western Hemisphere, will say it's a very but and or society. It's either, I want to do this, but he needs me, she needs me. I want to do this, I really want this goal, but my family needs me. I need to make sure that the dinner's on the table, and the dogs are fed, and that I need to get to this job, and that they need me too, and I need to do that, and I know you're having all these conversations with yourself. And guess what? If you are, it means you're a pretty decent person. I'd like to think so anyway. If you care that much about making sure other people are getting fed and getting what they need, that tells me that you have a pretty decent heart. But if we all are just giving to each other and while refusing help for ourselves, technically then nobody would get help. And if I'm so busy giving and I don't want to receive, who's going to get love at the end of the day? Help somebody and they say no to you? That hurts. I want to help you. I can do this thing for you. I want to cook for you. I want to help you, become mentally stronger. I want to help you work through this. And they tell you no. Or if you give them a gift and they say no thank you or no, that hurts a little bit. Other people want to give too. Other people want to help too. And if we never let anybody else help us, then this world would be really lonely. And we'd be miserable. In the same token, you deserve that too. You, because our personality and our ego is made up of so many things, you are that other person too. You deserve to give to yourself too. Otherwise, that person's not receiving. I hope that while you are on your journey, that you better your relationship with yourself, saying that you deserve it too. Which is why I say show up consistently. Even if you have a shitty day and you have a bad day, I know. We all have that. Keep showing up though. Because even if you do 1 or 2 moves, or if you just go for a 5-minute walk, even if worst case scenario, or if you need to skip it to just do it tomorrow, that's fine. It's okay. Obviously, yeah, we want to get a whole session in, of course, but do something, because that's better than nothing. That will aid in your results. Adding the pennies to the piggy bank will help build over time. Everything matters that you do. And the effort that you do matters. No one asked you for 100%. That was on you. Or maybe you heard that from someone else. Discipline, execute, dominate, 100% all the time. No. Give 80 to 90%. You'll sustain yourself that way. Maybe there will be bouts where you can give 100%, or you want to give 100%. Fucking awesome. Maybe you're one of those people. Cool. Start off, realistically speaking, set some realistic expectations for yourself. Go 80 to 90%. You don't have to show up every day. But every day does count. Not every calorie matters, but calories count. You don't have to count them, but they do count. Your goals matter too. No matter what, show up. There will be great days in the gym. There will be great days of eating. There will be great days of activity. There will also just be good. There will be average days. And there will be bad days. Instead of saying but or, say and. Oh, they need me, my family needs me. I want this thing, but my family needs me. It's either I'm 100% in or it's nothing. It's an all or nothing mentality. Yeah, that's... a lot of people don't really get many things done with an all or nothing mentality. A lot of people spend time doing nothing. I can affirm that to you. I've been there in some areas of life myself. All or nothing mentality is not healthy. But if you use rewind. If you use and, it's acknowledging everybody. It's acknowledging your needs too. I have wants and desires and goals. And my family needs me. How do I mesh them? 40 minutes to the gym 2 days a week. I know I have these goals and desires. And my work needs me. I have these hobbies I want to go after, and my friends want to hang out with me. This is not a balancing act. This is trying to harmonize your life. Beyond the getting your goal, you are learning how to harmonize your life. This is a harmony act. Everything deserves acknowledgement. You will be called to many areas of your life. And I'm praying that whether you are gaining perspective from this or from somewhere else while starting, no matter what, just start. I hope that you learn that everything harmonizes together. And this is how you not only just get to your goals, but you just become an amazing human being and become an excellent at everything, a resilient human being. That's how we get there. And I hope that while you are figuring this out and that you are starting, that you figure out that your needs also matter. They matter, and you deserve to get what you want. For you this year. And even if you're not listening at the start of the 2023 year, you found this another time. I pray that once you start today, that you can keep showing up, and that you can keep going, and that while you keep going, I know you can't see the end of the road. You can't see the entire vision. But I'm telling you, with a proper program, follow some of the things I described to you today to help get you started. But wherever you start, I hope that you keep showing up so that you can see the vision unfold in the long run. Most people think that they can over-accomplish things in 3 months, and they underestimate what they can do in a year, 5 years from now. A year from now, if I told you that you could be down 20 pounds, 30, 40, 50 pounds, and that you can have some solid muscle to you, and that I can show you how to help to keep it off, what would you have said? I wish I started. And we can play that game all day. We can play I wish and if I did this differently. We could play that all freaking day. But you can serve for yourself to start it today. Show up. Be consistent. Show discipline right now. There will be days where you are more motivated than others. That's okay. No matter what, keep showing up. Even when you don't feel like it, just keep showing up. You can do it. And if by all means, if you don't one day and you beat yourself up for it, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself of that day. Forgive yourself of your past. And forgive yourself for blaming anybody else for where you are right now if you are in a bad place. Learn to forgive other people too. That mostly points to you forgiving yourself. I hope while you are on this journey that you can also learn that, so that you can become a mentally healthier person, a physically healthier person, a better version, a stronger version, a more athletic version, so that you can see where there's lots of untapped potential that you might not have known that you have had. And where all these things can lead to a much light. It matters. Your goals matter. And I pray that this year and from wherever you are listening to right now going beyond, that you can start to include you too, if you haven't decided that already. And with that said, people, that is an amazing place to end it right there. I hope that you got a lot out of this. I hope that you got some clarity on where to start at least. I hope that you find some place to start, and if I speak to you at all, if anything that I've said speaks to you and you want to work with me, I'll link in the description how to get that. I'll link my website. You got a free consultation one-on-one to work with me. I'll go over your past, present, future, what your medical history is like, what your current lifestyle is like, your hobbies, your interests, what do you like doing? And we'll go over your goals, and we can go over how to mesh them together to create a program that harmonize your lifestyle and your goals. And if we need to challenge it, we will. But if that speaks to you at all, I'm offering you a free consultation one-on-one with me. I will link my calendar down below so that you. And if not, that doesn't, then there are so many other people to help out. There's so many places to help out. No matter what, I pray that you are able to get to what you want. I just want you to win, peeps. So, with that said, thank you for enjoying and coming to this episode of the Foody for Thought podcast. My name is James Foody, otherwise known as Kung Foody, and I will see you guys later. And remember, don't go chasing greatness. Dig for greatness within. That's where it is. Have an amazing day, peeps.